So thank you all for being here today. Those of you that are watching live or watching on the replay on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you'd like to join us in our Facebook group, the CLS Facebook group, the information for that is also in the comments. So thank you all for being here. I'm here with Laverne today, Laverne Bardy. She is a humorist, a humor writer, humor columnist, and an author. So there's lots of titles, blogger, right?
Syndicated
blogger and author, and yes. So I'm really excited to be here today with Laverne. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for this opportunity.
So
just take a note that I will be dabbing my eyes every few minutes because I have a drippy eye condition. My tear ducts seared up.
No problem.
I'm cleaning my eyes, so I'm not crying yet.
Well, you're just so excited to be here, right?
I am.
So I want to start with kind of just a general opening question. I know that there's a lot to talk about here, but the opening question is kind of, I want to just know a little bit about your journey being a humor writer and a syndicated columnist, and how that journey kind of began.
Okay. I'm old, so this could be very, very long. But no, I actually started writing in about 8th grade. I started with my diaries, and I have been doing diaries all of my life. And didn't know, I really wasn't interested per se in writing. I didn't have any aspirations, but that got me started. In school, I hated writing essays. I hated it because I didn't know, what are people going to think? What am I going to say? Why would they be interested? So I was not the greatest student in school. I didn't really get into writing until my children. I'm looking down at notes, about 16 pages of notes. When my children started school, and I was asked to take over the PTA newsletter called Hotline, and they said I had free reign with it, and I had no idea at the time what I was going to do, but it got me excited. So it was during that time that I started writing about me as a mother, as a homemaker, as a wife, and it just comes out funny. I see life funny. Even though I want to kill my children, leave my husband, but still I can see the humor in it, and I sit around the table talking to friends about it, and we all have the same feelings. And I realized, wow, there's a commonality here. And my writing got me started there with the Hotline. Of course, when my kids graduated, left the school, I was left with nothing to do. I started writing about their baseball games, Little League, hockey, and I submitted.
And was this still for the school?
No, I asked the newspaper, can I submit little things to you? This was local real newspaper, but it was local, relatively small, West Essex Tribune. And they said, yeah, bring it in, we'll see what it looks like. And it's just Bobby Jones hit a home run. It was 10 years old, and yeah, that was my next step.
So what gave you that idea to contact the newspaper and say?
I wanted to write. I mean, at that point, I was hooked. I knew I loved writing, but I didn't know what kind of writing I did. I didn't know where to. Didn't have an outlet. I didn't know what to do with it, other than I enjoyed writing. And that was the first step, but I didn't do a whole lot. That was just, every time there was.
That is a whole lot, though. That really is. Putting yourself out there in that way is really amazing.
It's scary. It can be scary because they could say, no, who are you? Show me, But he said, I'll try it. Let me see what it's like. And it wasn't a regular weekly thing. It was when I had something to report, when I thought I did. Let's see what there was some choice. I'm back at school now. Back
okay.
in the kids were at school. I was asked with a friend, as a parent, if we would put together something, write something for the school, because there was a lot of dissension going on between the parents and the faculty. And he said, can you write something that would ease their, just so my bra hanging out. Well, that would dissolve this dissension. Well, we came up with a fantastic play called Family Circus. And we got the teachers in it, they played in it, and we played in it. We were actors, and little skits. And it was hilarious, hilarious. It was a great,
That is so cool.
Oh, I was a stripper. Now, mind you, this is for the we wrote to a, I'm sorry, was it a newspaper, not a newspaper, a radio commentator. Used to have a show. His name is Ted Williams. Old people would know who he is. And he had a show, and every Friday he would play, there's a stripper song, The Stripper. Da, 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 da. So
I know that song. I know that song.
Okay. So we wrote to him. We said, we know you play this every Friday. He says, okay, Mama, get ready. So he's coming home. He wants his dinner. Meet him at the door, dressed in saran. You know. So we said, just tell us what time you're going to play it, because we want to be able to use this music in our show. And Laverne is going to be doing a strip. He did better than that. He sent out something specifically to us, and he said, and here she comes now out of shoot number 3, baby Laverne. Well, it was hilarious. So I had on a disheveled robe. My hair was in rollers and rubber gloves. I mean, totally Cow Burnett style, really, really anything but sexy. I did my dance, and I threw off my rubber glove and my other rubber glove. It was a hit. It was wonderful. The whole show was fantastic and successful, and teachers and parents got together great. So we succeeded.
That's such a beautiful thing with humor. It brings people together. You know, it really does.
It does. It really, really does. And I think what makes humor, I don't know. We're all the same, basically. Down deep, we're all the same. We express it in different ways, but we're all subjected to the same thing almost every day. And I guess it's just tuning in. I'm sorry, I lost my place.
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right.
So you were talking about the gloves, yeah.
The what? What was I saying?
You were talking about the gloves that you threw off. Right?
Yeah. It was they had said to me before, mind you, what made the show particularly successful was that there was a group of women in the school who heard that I was going to be doing a strip, and they picketed.
Wow.
I mean, this is a PTA. What kind of a strip could I do? You know, it was humor, totally. And they picketed. But we did get just a tiny bit nervous, even though we knew they were out of their mind. There's one in particular I'm thinking of. But we took the manuscript to the head of the Board of Education. We said, please read this. If you disapprove of anything, we won't do it. He read it and he said, save me a seat. So they gave us the greatest publicity that they could have with this picket line. Let me see. I decided that I really wanted to write, and I didn't know where. I spent a great deal of, months in the library trying to research publications that would accept what I think was my type of writing. Wasn't sure quite what that was, but I knew nothing that I read in Ladies' Home Journal and everything, nothing, I didn't fit anywhere. And just about that time, I'm sorry, I lost my place here. I was looking also for conferences and workshops, and I came across something, and I can't find it here. Oh, yes. It was a workshop that was being held at Goucher College in Maryland.
In Maryland, yeah. I know exactly where that is. It's very close to where I live.
Right. So and there was supposed to be I don't know what he was, but his name was Lee Gutkin. And he was basically the founder of creative nonfiction. Nonfiction is one thing. That's usually, you know what that is, biographies, stories. Fiction is another thing, but this is creative nonfiction. It's creative nonfiction is not making something up, but making the most of what you have. So I can look at this mouse on my table and say it's a white mouse, or I can not still factual. It's a little thing that's running around on my desk. I'll say, and it makes arrows on my tape. Whatever it is, you just go as far as you can with it. Exaggerate. That's the key to it all. I got a whole lot out of that conference. It was fantastic. I finally knew what my slot was. I didn't know where to put it yet, but I knew what I was. During that time, there was also Irma Bombeck, who everyone at that time adored. She's a journalist, and she put out a column. Must have had 50 of them on my refrigerator. This tape. She was everybody's dream. Everyone wanted to write like she did. And so I went to the Irma Bombeck's workshops, met some other writers.
And so did this lead to your column eventually?
Oh yeah, because that's my style. I will never say that I am Irma Bombeck, but it is my style. It's taking the obvious and making. You have to have it has to be true.
Definitely, yeah.
You can't exaggerate the truth. So there has to be a real narrator that's telling the story. I have always had a great deal of difficulty with memory. I once went to a doctor who said, actually, my synapses don't all connect. So you can tell me this now, and in an hour, I'll forget it. This is why this was making me a little bit nervous, and this is why I've got this papers.
Oh, you're doing great. So I want to make sure that we have time for everything that we want to talk about.
Oh,
so I want to talk to you about the column and how that happened.
Okay. I joined Toastmasters for an idea of how to write, and I made a whole stack of papers to read so I'd remember. And I stood up there and I had one keyword, father. And when I looked at the word, my key, I said, I don't know what that means. I had no idea what I was talking about. So from there, I went on to, I saw in the newspaper that they were, there was a regional newspaper that I picked up in a diner. And I said, and she had a lot of things about towns and vicinity. And I said, I wonder if they'd be interested in a writer. I don't know. So I wrote to them, and I sent her, I wrote to the editor, and I sent about 6 pieces of things that I'd written, because they wanted, just because one thing's funny, there might not be. They want to know you can do it more and more and more, over and over again. Right. So I sent in 6 pieces, and I got a response, yes, definitely. And that's where it really all started from. The publication was called 50 Plus Monthly. You had to be at least 50. Not to read it. It applies to anyone, but to whoever it appealed to.
That's amazing.
And it was an overwhelming hit. I got letters and emails, and one woman wrote to me and said, I always read the end of your column first, because I always love your endings.
That's so funny.
I've had someone who was sitting in a cancer clinic waiting for his wife to go undergo chemotherapy, and he said he just read my column and it cracked him up. Thank you. I needed to crack up at that time. So I've gotten many, many wonderful. So that inspired me to look into national syndication. And I did. I researched papers, editors that would look for writers for their syndications. And I again sent in 5 or 6 pieces, and it was accepted. And that's basically how it went. So I have many, 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 many columns, a couple of 100 columns or more. And I have a lot of them posted on my website that have been nationally syndicated. Then I took them at someone's suggestion, because I'd never thought of it before, and I decided to put them in a book. And that was my first book. How the bleep did I get this old? It's called. And it's simply all or many of my columns, in specific order. And that got, wow. From that, I got all kinds of responses from people. Oh, we sent out, promotion all over the country and further. And I got, the promotion went out at 6:00 at night online. And by 9:00, I was bombarded with, I mean, literally, had to be a couple hundred responses. Right for us, right for me, right for me. Different publications wanted me to write.
That is amazing.
Including Forbes. Why did Forbes call me? I'll never understand that. That's not the style of writing. And Huffington Post. So I said yes to Forbes. They said, you have a free reign to do what you want, but it wasn't so. And I said, yes, this is perfect, but, and this is good, but, and that's good, but. And I said, I'm sorry, thank you, but no. And I went over to Huffington Post, and they just let me go, whatever I wanted. And that's basically it.
So, I mean, this is like a story of extreme success. Like, this is amazing. But like, so was there anything behind like the highlight reel? Like, how much, like, I know that it's beautiful, like it's a beautiful story to tell the highlights, but how do you deal?
The negative part of it, well, it's not really, there were a lot more highlights than there was negative. But I still live with an insecurity about if they like this one, what if next time it isn't as good? How am I going to keep up with myself? How am I going to get ahead of myself? There's always doubt. And as I told you a moment ago, I have had, well, I've had many, many, many rejections. I've always said I could wallpaper a wall with just my rejections.
How do you get over the fear of that? How do you get over that to keep going?
You can't personalize it. They don't know me. They don't know me at all. They just don't like that thing that I gave them, that piece that I gave them. But I know, well, mostly I think it's good, but if it's not, maybe I should relook at it, and maybe it's not that great. There's a lot of evaluating. And you had asked me something before about, can you make a person, or how can a person be a humor writer, whatever. And I've often wondered about that. I'm not totally sure. I don't think you can make someone funny, but I think if somebody you have to seriously be a little warped to look at things and see things differently. Like we ride up the street and my husband's looking straight ahead and I'm saying, oh, look at that sign. The signs, we're in the country. Sign says, heavy deer area. And I said, that's disgusting. They discriminate against fat deer. Where are they supposed to hang out? It's just seeing things differently. We were in the diner and I had leftover eggs and bacon I was going to bring home to the dog. And I said to the waiter, I'd like to bring this home with me. And he said, do you want a container? And I said, no, I'm just going to shovel it into my pocketbook. Do I want a container? So it's just seeing things differently. And
you said you don't do stand-up, but I feel like you could.
I have no memory. I don't think I said one thing that's on these 6 sheets of paper yet. I don't remember anything.
That's okay. That's okay. I love it though. I love that so much. And I did ask you before about like whether someone can become a humor writer, and I love that response. It has to kind of partially be innate.
I don't think that you should knock people out of the park if they really have an interest. There are all kinds of humor. There's this dry humor. There's, I don't know, sick humor. There's all kinds. I think that if someone's really got it in them, that the humor could be developed and honed. I think that that's a possibility. If it becomes really, really difficult for you, then maybe you have to move on to something else if it's really too challenging. But mostly, I think it can be.
One of my questions, yeah.
No, I'm saying my father thought he was funny. God bless him. He made jokes that were not funny. We laughed at him, but not at his jokes. So he had to do it if he just didn't know how to develop it. If he wanted to, he didn't care. But I'm sorry. Now I interrupted you. What?
No, it's okay. I just wanted to ask you just a little bit more specifically. if you have any advice for anyone who is thinking about starting to write and wants to be funny, if you have any advice for them, and how you might go about honing that skill or getting yourself out there.
I'm thinking research. There's so much out there now online. We didn't have that back then, back when I started. But now you just type in any words you want. Teach me to be funny, or what do I have to do to develop my humor, my style? I would do that. I just spent hours in the library looking through all that. There's a writer's market I'm looking at now from 2006. It's holding up my computer. I really don't know how far something that can be developed, but there are humor workshops and
Right, yeah.
all kinds of writing workshops, and you have to get to know yourself. If you have a humor writer that you've read and you'd like to be able to emulate them in some way, read it over and over again. See or read what are they doing? Why am I laughing at what they're doing? It's just, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to sound like a jerk, because I've done it many times. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. That's the most important thing. Laugh at yourself. People can't laugh at you if you're laughing at yourself. And that's really the truth, and it's really important. I don't know.
So good.
Research it. There's hope.
Yeah.
And keep at it.
I love that so much. It's so wonderful. So you've already told us about one of your books, but I want to know about your new book.
My new book.
I
just happen to have it here.
Okay, good.
Oh, can it be seen? It's glassy. I don't know if you can read it with the light.
Can you tilt it a little bit this way? There you go.
Driving backwards on a one-way street. And it's basically a true story. Well, all of these are. Everything that I write is true, with exaggerations and enhancements, but they really happened. That was a good story. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So is that one based off of your column, or is it a separate thing, separate story?
It's a whole book. Both my books. Both of my books are my columns. All my columns this is how the bleep did I get this old. And this one is Driving Backwards on a One-Way Street. They're all my columns that it wasn't my idea. I didn't even think of it, but it was someone said, put them together, make a book. How would I do that? Then I tried making, separating, putting them into sections, columns. They're not all 100% funny. I've got a couple of serious ones in there, but mostly they're funny. They make me laugh.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about the story, like a little bit of a teaser of the story of the new book?
The story?
Just a little bit of a teaser of the story of the new book?
Well, these are not stories. I mean, they're individual stories.
They're individual. Okay.
Individual columns, categorized, just real fast. All right. These are the categories. The fairer sex, vanity, warm fuzzies, reminiscing. And under that is a bunch of columns. Oops, that's another one. I do a lot of eavesdropping. That's very important. Eavesdropping is of my career. I have been known to actually turn around and say, I'm sitting in a diner. I know this isn't polite, but I love what you're saying. But would you tell me, now, how did you actually do that or whatever?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And if you do it with a smile and with humor, I've never had a bad reaction. They always laugh, and then eventually, we talk a long time. So I've learned some wonderful things eavesdropping, and this puts sets of other ideas.
So funny. You're so brave. You're so wonderful. You're such a you're such a wonderful role model. It's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared with us today. So where can we find your books? Where can we find you? Do you want people to follow you?
Amazon.com, and It's in both ebook and paperback. And I have got a website called lavernebardy.com.
Yeah, I think I pasted all of that into the header of the live, but if not, I'll check and make sure that it's in the comments. And we haven't gotten any questions, but Laverne is a part of our CLS community. So if anyone has any questions, please tag her and I'll make sure that the questions get to her. And I want to, of course, ask you the last question that I always ask everyone, which is, what does it mean to you to live a creative life?
It means to never be bored. There's always, I mean, I've been bored maybe a dozen times in my life. It's to have your mind always going, always going. It's exciting. It doesn't mean I don't get depressed, I don't get angry and all that stuff that everybody gets in life. But what was the question? I forgot.
What does it mean to live a creative life?
It means to always have your mind racing, as you can see mine does, my poor husband.
I love that, though. I love it. It's good ideas that are constantly flowing to you because they know that they have a good place to go when they come to see you.
Yes,
so.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Laverne. I've so much enjoyed this conversation.
Fun. I've enjoyed it.
And thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you to everyone that tuned in to watch us live. And if you have any questions again, yeah, we had a good couple of people watching us live there for a while. So if you have any questions, definitely let us know.
Okay. Well,
I know someone was laughing. I see my mom was laughing. She's right here. She commented. So. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.